Do you know what I like about ethics, Carl? The more I learn about it, the more I feel like I gain the ability to justify almost anything. I feel like I know enough now that no matter what I want to do, I can find a way to argue that it's okay to do it. It's like having a superpower or the ability to do magic. This power is intoxicating. Carl, I'm beginning to feel like maybe I have gotten into this field for the wrong reasons. Hi, and welcome to this video lecture. Today, we're going to provide a brief introduction into morality and ethics. Let's get started. The study of ethics, in its most basic sense, is an investigation into what is good or what is right. It includes explorations into the codes of conduct of particular groups, as well as the possibility of a code of conduct that applies to all groups. It includes discussions on how people decide what is right and what is wrong, as well as examinations of how people define moral terms like good and evil. It also includes discussions of how codes of conduct apply to particular fields, as well as specific professions, such as nursing or law enforcement. Before getting into more details about ethics, it's helpful to make two clarifications. First, ethics is traditionally understood as a subdiscipline of philosophy. When it comes to questions like, what's the right thing to do, or what does it mean to be good, there's really no way around it. We're going to be doing some philosophy. These aren't questions we can answer by referring to science, math, or engineering alone. To be clear, this isn't to say that the sciences don't have important things to tell us when we're asking ethical questions. They certainly do. It's just to say that the sciences have a limited role that needs to be supported by philosophy. Second, morality is related to, but different from, law. When I ask students a question like, why is it wrong to murder? They sometimes respond with an answer about legal consequences. It's wrong to murder because you'll go to prison. Only if you get caught. Am I right, Carl? No? Seriously, I chose the wrong profession. Anyway, we want to distinguish between morality and law. While what is legal is sometimes related to and rooted in what a culture perceives to be moral, the two aren't necessarily the same thing. On the one hand, just because something is legal doesn't mean that it's moral, or even that a culture thinks it's moral. For example, lots of things used to be legal in the United States that we consider immoral today. For example, slavery, segregation in the workplace, eating live animals. Wait, that's still legal today? Ew. On the other hand, we don't always try to take what we consider to be moral and convert it into law. For example, a lawmaker might think that it's immoral to take certain drugs, but ultimately believe that people should be able to decide what they put in their own bodies. So, while the lawmaker thinks that it's immoral, they might not seek to make it illegal. It's helpful to keep this distinction in mind when we're discussing moral issues. Are we asking, is it moral, or are we asking, is it legal? These are different questions. Okay, now let's unpack some basics of ethics. One of the best ways to introduce ethics is to break it down into its various subfields. Let's take a look at a few. First, descriptive ethics. Descriptive ethics looks at a particular group and asks, what does this group consider to be moral or ethical? For example, if I examine data to consider what citizens of the United States think about the morality of capital punishment in the case of violent crimes, I'm doing an exercise in descriptive ethics. In this case, I'm not taking a position on capital punishment. I'm not critiquing someone's view or trying to persuade people to think one way or another about it. I'm simply describing how the moral issue sits with a particular group. And of course, I could explore smaller demographics within the United States. I could look at particular races, particular age groups. I could look at particular states or even particular counties. In each case, so long as I am describing what a particular group believes, I'm doing an exercise in descriptive ethics. Second, metaethics. Metaethics focuses on foundational questions about morality and ethics. Some of these questions are definitional in nature. For example, what is morality? Is there a difference between morality and ethics? What do we mean when we use terms like good, evil, right, and wrong? If we think about it, we use these terms all the time. Carl is a good person, someone might say. Never. Sorry, Carl, but facts are facts. But what does it mean to be a good person? Likewise, someone might say that murder is evil. But what does it mean to say that? What is evil? And is there a difference between doing evil and being evil? These are all examples of metaethical questions. Metaethics also explores how we go about defining terms. So, when I ask, what do we mean by the terms good or evil, I can also ask, how do we go about even defining terms like good or evil? Another interesting question of metaethics is whether morality is objective and absolute or subjective and relative. If we believe that morality is objective and absolute, then there are certain moral truths that apply to all people at all times. Moral truths exist like mathematical principles or constants of the universe. In other words, humans don't create them, we discover them. And that means that you can be wrong about a moral fact. That is, your moral beliefs can be mistaken. But if we accept that morality is subjective and relative, then we reject the idea that there are moral truths that apply to all people at all times. Morality becomes more a matter of personal or communal opinion. In other words, it's created by humans, not discovered by humans. It's an expression of culture, not a principle of the universe. These are the types of foundational questions we ask when we're doing metaethics. Third, normative ethics. Whereas descriptive ethics merely depicts what a particular group thinks in terms of morality and ethics, normative ethics attempts to establish what people, and typically all people, should think about morality and ethics. In other words, descriptive ethics tells us what people actually think about what is right and wrong, what is good and evil. Normative ethics tells us what people should think about these things. There are a number of common normative ethical theories that seek an answer to the question, what is the right thing to do? Or what does it look like to be a good person? Typically, the big three are deontology, consequentialism, and virtue ethics. In a future video, we're going to explore these theories in detail, so I'll just mention them in passing here. The main point here is that normative ethics tells us how we should behave, what kind of people we ought to be. Fourth, applied ethics and professional ethics. Applied ethics takes ethical theories or principles and, well, applies them to particular fields. For instance, we might ask questions about abortion, access to healthcare, and euthanasia. These questions would be applied ethics in the field of bioethics or medical ethics. We might ask about moral obligations we have to wild animals, to the earth, or to other humans by ensuring access to clean water and air. These questions would be applied ethics in the field of environmental ethics. We might ask questions about contractual or consumer deception, the social obligations of corporations, or discriminatory practices in hiring and firing employees. Here, we're talking about applied ethics in business ethics. Professional ethics might seem similar to applied ethics, but it's different in one important aspect, which makes professional ethics either a separate category or a subcategory of applied ethics. Professional ethics deals with a specific code of conduct that professionals have to abide by. For example, there's a general nursing code of ethics put out by the American Nursing Association. There's also one put out by the International Council of Nurses. Neither of these codes are technically binding on nurses, and neither are a set of strict rules, but more a set of guidelines for nurses to consider in their career. However, nurses will have to abide by the specific code of conduct put forward by their employers, for example, their hospital. Other professions have specific codes of conduct that do apply across the board, or at least across specific states. For example, lawyers have to abide by the basic codes of conduct of their state. And every U.S. state currently uses some form of the American Bar Association's model rule for professional conduct. In this video, we briefly explored ethics. We noted the importance of philosophy for ethics and differentiated between morality and law. We then considered 4 subfields of ethics: descriptive ethics, which depicts the particular moral beliefs of a group; metaethics, which examines foundational questions about morality, such as definitions and methods; normative ethics, which provides theories about how people should act; and applied and professional ethics, which relates morality to particular issues and professional fields. In our next video, we're going to take a closer look at metaethics. Until then, farewell.